The Chicago Bulls played a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday, a game in which there are some takeaways that I want to talk about. We'll get into that today. Plus, the Bulls have a game tonight against the Miami Heat with a lot on the line, and considering that the Chicago Bulls did sit their starters, except Modest Buzelis in yesterday's game, the Bulls better win this game. We're going to talk about it all, plus more, right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And Modest Buzelis and Patrick Williams got to put on the show last night. It was good to be able to see some of the skills that, especially with Modest Buzelis, that I've been talking about wanting to see next year on display in last night's game, right? You look at his 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, a really good night for Modest Buzelis. But the thing that we got to see from Modest was more on-ball responsibility from him last night, operating as a point forward, which if you go back to my pre-draft analysis in regards to Modest Buzelis, that's one of the things that really stood out to me about Modest, right, is that he's more of a modern style forward where you can run some of your offense through when you have the combination of his size, his ability to put the ball on the floor, right? That's what we got to see last night, and it really makes the future even brighter for Modest Buzelis, right? There's times where his shot wasn't, what we needed it to be and things like that, but he had some times where he took players off the dribble. He had some times where, of course, he was running the offense. He had to make a decision on pick and rolls and pick and pops. He had 2 really good lobs to the bigs and Jaylen Smith and Zach Collins. Like, it was a game where Modest got to display some of his Swiss Army knife type talent that we know that he's there. And that's the thing that makes Modest Buzelis such a potential special player, right, in this league, is the fact that he could really do a lot on the basketball court. And I really do hope that this is a precursor to Billy Donovan opening up that form a little bit more heading into next year, because I tell you what, if you're able to have, and for example, right, like we try to do a little bit of that with Vooch, right? We know that Vooch can facilitate things like that, but the makeup of the team the last couple of years when Vooch had the opportunities to do that didn't really fit his skill set, right? We talked about how he got forced out of position because him and DeMar like to start their offense from the same spots. With Modest, because Modest has the ability to shoot the three, put the ball on the floor to get to the rim. I still need to see more mid-range creation from him and shooting there. But because he has that, you talk about a team that's on the fast break, meaning that if Modest gets the rebound and Billy Donovan actually lets him start pushing the break, you have Kobe White that can play off ball. He's learned to do that this season. The Josh Giddey part of it, I think if Josh Giddey's shot falling, he'll be perfectly fine in that, right? But even if it's times where Josh Giddey sits and you allow Modest to run kind of more of the point at that point in time, you have an Ayo Dosunmu out there, for example, right? Those are things that you can really start uncovering some of Modest Buzelis' game. And I really loved it to get a chance to see that from Modest last night, because it just reminded, for anybody who, isn't as in deep of the draft bag or even, watching tape and things like that, they got to see some things. And for how I was live for one of the few times I do a live watch along last night, which I don't really do ever. But I got to do that last night. And, there were people in chat like, wait, is Modest running point? That's stupid. Why is Modest running point? And it's because he has the skill set to do so. And when you look at some of these teams, I've said it before, like the place that the NBA is going now is interchangeable forwards, right? It's having those forwards that can do a little bit of everything. And the Bulls have them one of those guys in Modest Buzelis. It's just you need to continue to grow it and develop it and things like that. And so it was really fun to be able to see Modest have that opportunity to do that. He's not going to have a lot of it over the remaining 3 games of the season. But, I hope that Billy Donovan and his coaching staff are already thinking about ways they can use that part of Modest's game, because I tell you what, Modest putting the ball on the floor and that hesitation move that he has, the up and under move that he has, I do think that he's going to be a decent mid-range shooter with his ability to, separate, and the height that he gets on his jump shot as well. He could have that Dirk Nowitzki type, fadeaway. So all those things and opportunities are there for Modest potentially. He just got to, uncover it. He got to put it all together. And, that's on the coaching staff to really challenge him to put him in those positions to be able to do that. And I hope that we see that. Got to see a little glimpse of the future from Modest Buzelis. I'm glad we got to see that. Another player in Patrick Williams. Right now, P. Will is such an interesting case study because you have games like this. This was Patrick Williams' first time scoring over 20 points since December 2023. That was the first time of a 20-point game in that amount of time, right? And that's crazy to say, but P. Will, 5 and 5 from downtown over that, 7 of 11 from the field overall, 21 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, right? And it is like when you see Patrick Williams play like this, the natural question and inclination is, why don't we see this more? And maybe P. Will is a guy that if you want the aggression from him offensively, we've talked about this over the years as well, you need to put the ball in his hands. But then you run into the question of, well, he's not good enough, right, to consistently put the ball in his hands and let him run the offense, and he's not consistent enough to do it, right? But it was good to see P. Will step up in the way that he stepped up last night as well. My co-host over on Locked On Bulls, Pat the Designer, has often called out P. Will for saying, hey, this was your opportunity. This was your game where you needed to step up, and P. Will didn't step up, and he did in this game. P. Will played a really good game. He was aggressive on both sides of the ball, and it was really good to see that because it's not like Cleveland was not playing the majority of their starters out there for the game. They were, and so it was really good to see P. Will step in and be that Patrick Williams that we've wanted to see at different points in his career and that we just haven't seen consistently, right? So that was really good to see Patrick Williams step up. He got to do more point forward things, run the ball, run the offense some as well. And so, P. Will is an interesting thing because when you look at P. Will, you can see at times why AK and Eversley fall, why even Billy Donovan, right? Which seems like Billy's kind of fallen out of love a little bit with P. Will recently, but even why those guys have this affinity for P. Will that they do, because you look at his game and you're like, this guy can play basketball. You just desire his want to play basketball sometimes. And that's the thing that's kind of even more frustrating, right? Is that when you can see that somebody has the skill and you're like, the reason why they're not more productive, the reason why they don't play more, the reason why they don't play better is because they're a fucking head case. And not a head case where it's like, oh, they're doing crazy shit. Like they're not Draymond and Ron Artest out there, but they're head cases in the sense is like, why don't you give a shit? And that's the problem with it, right? Matter of fact, I was going to wait to the mailbag. Since we're talking about P. Will, and I do feel like this is topical. I got an email from David who brought it up yesterday in the live stream, right? And he says this: I agree with most of the things you say, but I disagree about Patrick Williams. And that's fair, right? He says this: what to do with Patrick Williams is basically the title of this. He says the big question is what to do with Patrick Williams. A 5-year contract worth $90 million, and he's not showing that he's worth this much. And from what I can tell, he may never show he was worth such a contract. I was shocked to see that what his stats were and how many injuries he had early on and still has, and that the Bulls went ahead and offered him the contract. Was he still quite young and fits with the other baby Bulls in that respect? When I watch him play, he doesn't seem committed. He doesn't seem right in the right headspace. The problem is that the Bulls can't trade him because no one will want that contract. What do the Bulls do? Let me stop there, right? The contract isn't that bad. $19 million in the modern NBA is not that bad of a contract. Now, P. Will and his level of play, of course. Now, I do think that if a team, I'm just using them for example, like the Brooklyn Nets, who are in the place right now where they maybe just wanting to take the shot at developing talent while their team's bad, those type of things, maybe they would. Now, I don't think the Bulls would probably want what they're willing to give, because again, the Bulls are younger. He's 23 years old, and the Bulls' salary cap is in such a good place that this is the time where if you do want to take a risk on a player, you're worth doing it. $19 million, though, isn't that bad, but let's keep going, right? So what should the Bulls do? They build him up. Patrick Williams has to do whatever he needs to do to get back in the game, go see sports psychologists and work on drive and dedication. He definitely needs to put in the hours. It might be that his injuries have a lasting impact. Again, with that on P. Will, the foot injury last year, I do think was something that did, hurt him a little bit at the start of the season. But P. Will has had two. When you look at it, he's had 2 seasons where he's basically played 100% of the games. He had 2 seasons where they ended early due to injury, and then he had an injury this season. So it's been a real mixed bag when it comes to P. Will, right? But to go back into it, it could be a trust thing in the Bulls about a past injury management. Who knows? But while some think he should work up to being a good 3-and-D player, I think that would be a waste of his potential. The most obvious role is backup to Modest, with which you said. but Donovan Williams needs to sit down and work out how he fits into the Bulls. From what I understand, he was originally playing the 3 spot, and that went well rookie season. But then he bulked up and put on the 4 spot, and he's never delivered the way that it was expected. Like Giddey, I think Williams is a confidence player. He needs team support right now, and they need to get Williams to buy into the emerging positive team culture at the Bulls. He needs things to aim for motivation-wise. He and Modest seem to have similar body styles, roles, so it could be that he typically comes off the bench for Modest, or that Williams adjusts and goes to the 3 spot and Modest develops into the 4 spot. Williams has an all-around game that could be developed. His defense needs to improve, but his first step is him getting his drive, hunger for wins back. If Donovan and Williams sit down and work on his place on the team and are super clear on his expectations and he doesn't meet those with certain time frame, then you can bend him. I'd be fine with that. I think I would be okay with that, but it's certainly not in the Bulls' best interest to write him off yet. And the fact is, the Bulls want to trade him. His stock needs to go up. What do you do with Patrick Williams? P.S. Keep doing the Vegemite nights. They're great. And it's good to see that you have the butter to Vegemite ratio down, bro. Here's the thing. I think those expectations have been laid out for P. Will. He started off every season, no matter how bad it's finished, as the starter, right? And you know what the expectations are for that. When he's moved to the bench, he's still been getting a lot of minutes moving to the bench. I think that if we assume that the expectations for him aren't clear, I can't assume that, because I think when you play the minutes that you do, everybody sees what P. Will needs to do. And the thing that's really this season really made me over P. Will is that the things that he did do well, defense, he fell off a cliff on. Now, a lot of people do like to go to he played the 3 his rookie year. When you go and look at the minutes breakdown, he actually played more minutes at the 4 than at the 3 last year. Yes, he started at the 3, but because of the distrust of Laurie at that point in time, where the Bulls were clearly already moving on, Patrick Williams still played the majority of his minutes, I believe, I'm pulling him up now, at power forward, even in this rookie year. Now, I do agree that some of him bulking up too much, I think that really affected his mobility. So, for example, rookie year, the minutes breakdown, he played 48% of his minutes at the 4 and 52% of his minutes at small forward. Then the next year he moved to 90% of his minutes at power forward for sure, right? So again, there's not much in Billy Donovan's system that's a difference between what the 4 and the 5 or what the 4 and the 3 are asked to do. There just isn't, right? But if moving P. Will to the 3, and I think it's really more P. Will putting the ball in his hands, but the thing that I keep going to is that if you got to do that much to motivate a player mentally, how much value is really in that? That's always what I go back to. So that's just my personal opinion. Again, as I've said many times, I want everybody on this team to succeed. I'm not somebody who roots against somebody just so I can be right about something. I'm over P. Will and the experiment at this point in time not because his skill isn't there, not because I don't think P. Will can help this team, but because P. Will has not shown that he's cared enough about doing the things that are needed to help this team and to do what he needs to do to stay on the basketball court. Personal opinion. Now, if we see more from P. Will consistently, great, I'm all for it. But P. Will got to really step up, man. He has to step up, and you got to go out there and just be consistent in what you do, and then let's try to build it out from there. P. Will, I mean, unfortunately, you got players that are behind P. Will that show like they give a damn about the game more. And I don't think that an NBA coach is different if it was college, high school. I don't think an NBA's coach's job is to sit there and continue to try to motivate the same guy who he's empowered with him being a starter every year he comes into a season. I don't think that that's an NBA coach's head coach's job. Like, yeah, you want to be able to, set clear examples, things, but this ain't college where I can keep pulling you to the side and be like, you're really good. You just got to go out and do this. You're really like, let me just make sure you're really good. No, if you're not bringing it, you sit your ass down. And that's just the point of it. Contract or not. That's just my perspective and point of view where it stands right now. But like I said, P. Will is at the place. This team is at the place. He's still going to have opportunities, and let's see what he can bring. Before we get out of this segment, though, I do want to talk about Jaylen Smith. Jaylen Smith last night, who, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. He played against Jared Allen. He did an okay job, right? Went 4 of 10 from the field. But this just highlighted the fact of why isn't this man playing, right? Because now clearly it's not the health, even though he almost rolled an ankle in this game. But clearly, like I had been worried about, maybe it's something more so health-wise. Doesn't seem like that's the problem. Play Jaylen Smith more. And hopefully we see that a little bit more, especially over these last 3 games and some of the big lineups that we could face and preparing for the play-in and playoffs. So we'll see what happens there with Jaylen. But Jaylen Smith got to play a lot of minutes. He started last night, which was really good to see him and Zach Collins out there at times together as well. So let's see what that brings. The Bulls do have a game tonight against the Miami Heat. And this is a game that there's a lot on the line, right? When you look at the Bulls and the Heat, they're right now tied in the standings with 3 games left. A win tonight over the Miami Heat will put them a full game above the Heat, right? It's like gaining that much. So that's a really key game on the Bulls schedule. And so much so that the Chicago Bulls set your starters against Cleveland to come into this game and be prepared to win on a back-to-back, because the Bulls are in 4-8 in back-to-backs, in the second of back-to-backs in this season, right? So you've put yourself on paper in what you feel is a better position to be able to win this basketball game. Go out there and win. You better goddamn well compete in this game, right? Also, the Bulls are in 1 game behind the Atlanta Hawks at the 8th seed as well, right? So this is where the Bulls need to start making their moves in the standings. And this is a very important part of all of this, man. I'll say this when it comes down to it, right? This game against the Miami Heat, the Heat are playing really good basketball as of late, right? They've really come on. Eric Spoelstra has woke up and, got this team to start playing on the same page again and preparing for the play-in. I don't know how far they're going to go, right? I want to be clear on that. But when you look at the Miami Heat and where they are right now, over the last 10 games, they've been 3rd in net rating, 10th in offensive rating, 4th in defensive rating, with a true shooting percentage of 61%, which is 7th in the NBA, and effective field goal shooting percentage of 58%, which is 6th in the NBA. This Miami Heat team is playing much better. They're 7-3 in their last 10. That you cannot take away from how good the Miami Heat have been playing over this reaching stretch over the last 10 games. And the Bulls have to be prepared for that. Billy Donovan, who has been coaching pretty damn well and decent, has to have his guys ready and prepared for today, because if you want to host that home playing game, which it does seem like is motivating this. Shout out to Jerry Reinsdorf for trying to get that sweet home playing residuals or revenue. But it is what it is, man. I want to see my team come out here and compete. I think that is the most important thing, right? Is that you want to go into this matchup, because this is the team that you faced in the play-in the last few years that have kicked your ass. This is the team that you're probably going to be playing, unless things drastically change, in the first play-in game as well. This is an opportunity. This game should have a playoff atmosphere. Will it? That's a story for another day. We'll see how the game goes in that case. But you definitely want to see these guys come out here and do their goddamn thing, man. That's what you want to see. And so let's hope that you can get that from this Bulls team. Let's hope that you can be in a position where you can see this team come out and understand what's at stake. You rested guys for this game in the beginning of April, at the end of the season, the last week of the season. You rested your starters against the Cleveland Cavaliers in a game which you had to lead down to single digits. And you rested them because you wanted your players to be prepared and ready to go for this game against the Miami Heat. They better come out and look like a team that wants to absolutely kill the Miami Heat. And let's hope that that's what we see here today for the Bulls. You better damn well. Listen, I try to talk Pat down. If the Bulls come in here and drop this game and look like they're not prepared, Pat is going to go off, and I probably will too. Let me hold myself accountable as well. I probably will go off as well. You got to come in here. If that's what you're trying to do for this game, if you were really trying to play the odds and the statistics and all that to make sure that you are ready for this game against the Miami Heat, that means more for you in the standings, you go out and you get it done. That's what you need to do. You need to go out and get it done. And so that the Bulls can, man. Overall, I'll say this. This has been a team where you haven't really been able to question the heart of the Chicago Bulls over the back half of the season. And I really do. And I don't take that for granted, I should say. I don't take that for granted at all. This has been a team where I've questioned their heart for like the last 3 years. And it's amazing that a team, when you remove the Carusos and the Drummonds and the DeMar DeRozans and the Zach LaVines, not to blame those players, because Drummond and Caruso definitely were players that played with heart. Zach LaVine played with heart at times as well, right? But to have for this team to find their identity after those players are gone, that's big. That's huge. And so you got to see that continue for the Chicago Bulls, man, and let's hope that it does. Overall, I'm coming into this game with an open mind. I'm coming into this game with wanting to really see my team come out here and compete, and let's hope that we can get it done. Because if we don't, I don't know if Petty Roosevelt can be held back much longer. But we'll see that story for another day. Before we go, last topic here. and this is just something that I've been talking about, that many people have been talking about, so I'm not going to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on it. But Billy Donovan continues, every time he talks about Lonzo Ball, to me, it puts a highlight on the fact that Lonzo ain't coming back this season. Again, I would love to be wrong on that. It is what it is when it comes down to that. If he comes back and he's able to play, he's able to play. Great. Now, I don't think anybody's saying, hey, Lonzo, go home. But him saying that, they already ruled him out against the Heat. Like, keep in mind, they initially announced that he would be coming back between either Friday or Sunday's game. Now we're 2 games removed from that, and we already know he's not returning with only 2 games remaining after this game. Lonzo Ball, to me, unless it's they're saving him for the play-in and they're maybe doing something on the back end, which I don't expect, this is done. It is what it is. We'll see what next season holds for Lonzo. It's unfortunate to lose him and Trey Jones both, because I think especially in that game against the Cavs last night, it would be really nice to have those guys. But that's just kind of where we stand at right now. So we'll see what the future holds. But that's my time for today, guys. I'll see you guys later on today for the game. Make sure you're following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.